Hello. Now today I'm going to plant a blueberry. Blueberries are really easy to grow. You generally want to give them a permanent spot. Once you put them in, obviously they're there for good. You'll get blueberries off them during summer, early, and you can get different varieties. There's Blue Ray and a few other ones that you can actually get early, mid and late season plants. So that's when they'll actually produce their fruit at the beginning of summer, basically the mid and late summer. So if you want blueberries all year round, if you're buying some, you can actually get the mid, early and late ones, so you can keep harvesting them through to summer. Now, the blueberry I've got today, I was actually given from a friend of mine, Ben, who gave me a few. I helped him out with some work and what have you and stuff like that. He's a landscape gardener and he's pretty keen on his blueberries, so he's got a few. So he gave me a couple of plants to say thanks, which was good. Now this one I've had in a pot. I'm actually going to just plant it at the other end of this garden bed. This is where I put the rhubarb in at this end, so I'm just going to pop it up the other end there too. Now with blueberries, you want to actually have a good sized pot or a garden bed, somewhere nice and big, permanent for it. It's actually, they will get to about roughly 1 metre by 1 metre, so a good size, and they'll actually produce quite a lot of fruit. But the first couple of years you can pick the flowers off as they start to form, just so it puts its energy into the actual growth of the bush itself rather than fruit production, like normal fruit trees, and then down the track you'll just get more and more. Now they do like quite acidic soil, so they're similar to like azaleas, gardenias, rhododendrons to a lesser degree. So lots of like dolomite, lime, a certain amount of acidity in the soil, a higher pH, is actually quite good for them. So cool. Alright, now I'll chuck this in. I'll show you the plant first, alright? Alright, now this is actually it. So it was actually in a pot, you can tell. We've managed to keep most of, they've got a very fine root system. There are a lot of like main root systems in their leaders as such, but it's actually quite fine. Now you can see how it's spreading out. I've pruned it last year. This year it's doing pretty well actually, so I've tip pruned it a little bit here and there before I started filming, of course, but I'll probably just leave it as it is, so I'll just pop it in. Now with anything, if you're trying to get it transplant from a pot to a permanent bed or a bigger pot, try and get as much of the root ball as you can. Alright, so try not to cut off as many roots. And these are obviously deciduous. You can get evergreen blueberries as well. So if you're dealing with either, try and do it during the cooler months during winter, so there's less chance of it actually dying through transplanting. Alright, so you eliminate the shock while the tree is in its dormancy, so it's basically half asleep, and it's a safer time. Alright. Now I was going to talk about pH in soils. Now I always get confused with higher and lower pHs for these, so don't quote me on that. I'll have to go and have a look. One of those things that I always kind of forget. I can't remember if I said low or high pH before, but let me double check and I'll mention it again on another video, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I always get confused with those. Anyway, they do like an acidic soil. Alright, so here we go. We've got the tree. Now, this area that I've got for it is about 800 by 800, and it's probably about 600 mil deep. So it's really good size. So if you're going to get a pot for your blueberries, try and get something that's going to encase the same kind of volume with it too, alright? Now, we just want to dig out the hole. Nice rich soil, well broken down. Now dig out more than you actually need as far as the width and depth goes, and just make sure that the bottom is nice and loose, because when it starts, like spring's not too far away, so when it starts to take off, all the new feeder roots that are going to start penetrating the soil, it needs to be nice and friable for them to get in. If it's hard and there's a lot of resistance, they can just start to turn and the root system will go round and round, eventually just choke the plant like a pot-bound pot plant. Alright, so the sun's behind us, so it's going to be going directly overhead, so taking positioning into account too. Needs a lot of sunshine, especially through summer. Try and put it in a spot where it's going to have a certain amount of shade, or dappled sunlight in the later part of the day when it's really hot. They can burn, but they are very tough, so they do take a lot of sunshine, but you need that sunlight to produce the flowers and the fruit, okay? Now, again, with positioning, think about which way the branches are going and position it. Now, this one's leading off kind of laterally across this way. Now, I don't want it to go out this way and straight into the fence, so I'm actually going to put it this way, alright? Now, I'll just put a bit of soil in the bottom, make sure it's nice. Right. Now, I'm happy with that. That's the way I want it to go. Now just kind of backfill it loosely and just push down. Just nice and gentle, don't be too hardcore on it. Alright, make sure it's nice and straight. Make sure there's no air pockets underneath. And just bring that away from the trunk itself, alright? So you're creating like a little bit of a well, an indentation for the water to naturally flow down in there. And you don't want the soil and all that moisture actually up against the trunk. That'll cause it to rot, okay? Alright, so that's pretty good. Alright, being a bit pedantic. Alright. Now I've actually put some fertiliser in here already prior to the video. Otherwise I'd give it a little quick feed. I'll feed it again in probably about 3 weeks. Alright. Now last thing I'm going to do, second last thing, is just mulch around it. So I've got some mulch here. This is actually sugarcane mulch, which you've probably seen me use in the past, which is just a byproduct of the sugarcane industry, of course. Watch the parsley. A little bit more, won't go astray. Alright, I'll come back and do a little bit more. Now the last thing I need to do is just water it. Just give it a nice soak. I tend to water around the perimeter of where I've watered it and then into the middle, and that's it. Now I'm just kind of starting off with blueberries, so my knowledge of them is a bit average. I'll talk to Benno and he'll point me in the right direction as far as blueberry growing and stuff like that goes. So that's it. That's how you plant blueberries. Most berry plants can be planted in the same kind of way. You'll often get the stalks for boysenberries and young berries and stuff like that. I'll give it some dolomite lime probably in about 3 weeks, and before it starts flowering I'll give it some sulfate of potash too, which will actually increase the flowers. It's like strawberries and anything else. You're actually getting, obviously you're getting the fruit from the flowers, so you want to increase flower production as well. This is a few years old, so wait and see how it goes when it's flowering, and then I'll decide if I pick all the flowers off and let it grow a bit more, or I might just pick half off and keep a few so I can show you the blueberries as well. That's it. We'll see how it goes. Alright. Any questions about blueberries? You're probably better off emailing someone else. No, give us a yell. I'm going to do a bit more research into them too and find out a little bit more so I know for myself. Cool. I'll come back, I'll do a bit of an overview of everything I've been planting lately too in the next month or so, and show you how it's coming along, the bare-rooted fruit trees and blueberry and rhubarb and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully we don't get another possum attack. I'm just in the middle of kind of possum-proofing the garden. It's a bit of a nightmare. Anyway. Alright, cool. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, alright?